All right. Welcome to Thrive Not Survive, practical mindfulness for daily life. Grab something cozy, get yourself cozy rather. Grab your favorite beverage. I've got myself some lovely sparkling water here from my soda stream and something to write with as well. There is, of course, the recording, but it's really helpful if you are able to take notes to help you remember what you learn here today. And really, you're here because you're curious about mindfulness and how mindfulness can improve your life. Because you're tired of feeling like you're trapped in a Groundhog Day, going through the same motions over and over, maybe feeling kind of numb and really disconnected from life. And you're here because you know that you deserve to thrive and not just survive. So, congratulations for being here today, whether you're here live or on the replay. Thank you for choosing to invest in your success and your future. And I invite you now to commit to getting the most out of your investment. Turn off the TV, put your phone down, unless of course you're watching on the phone. If you are, put it on Do Not Disturb. Pay attention so that you can learn as much as possible and get as most as you can from this investment. Before we get started, here's a question for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is feeling like 100% awesome, how do you feel right now? Take a moment and think about that. Write your score down and make a few notes about why you've scored yourself that way. Is it because you're experiencing pain, maybe anxiety, stress, grief? Maybe it's your energy levels. What is your score out of 10? And why have you scored yourself that way? And we're going to come back to that later on. Now, when you think of mindfulness, what do you picture? Maybe you have this visual in your head of a monk sitting under a tree meditating for hours, or perhaps it's going on a 10-day silent retreat. The thing is, mindfulness, yes, it absolutely can be those things. And it can be just as effective in small doses. You don't necessarily have to drastically alter your life to start experiencing the benefits of mindfulness. To me, mindfulness is about getting off autopilot and experiencing each moment of your life fully. Instead of half paying attention to things, you're experiencing life and seeing things in technicolor. It's about slowing down and savoring what's going on for you. And there's lots of studies into mindfulness, and they've shown that mindfulness can help with chronic pain. It can improve psychological conditions such as anxiety, depression, and even military veterans who've used meditation showed improvement in mood and overall quality of life. Mindfulness gives your central nervous system time to reset so that you can keep your calm battery charged. Instead of waiting until you're at your wit's end and then trying everything you can think of to stop yourself from losing it, if you sugar your day with mindful moments, that can stop you from reaching that overwhelm and from blowing your top. Picture yourself as having an internal battery of patience, calm, and joy. And of course, throughout the day, that battery is going to get depleted as you encounter challenges. Maybe you spill your coffee, the kids are squabbling at breakfast, you get an angry email, the grocery store's out of chicken again, and you keep pushing through onto the next thing because your to-do list is never done. And all the while, these normal daily events are draining that battery bit by bit. And then sometimes a big challenge comes along and it suddenly zaps your battery way down. You're instantly into the red. And by the end of the day, your low battery alert is flashing and you can't even remember your self-care tools. So you end up collapsing on the couch with a tub of ice cream, or maybe going to bed crying or yelling at your partner. If that sounds familiar to you, know that it is normal. You are not alone. And that it's entirely fixable. Today I'm going to teach you how to take care of yourself throughout the day so that you have the energy to enjoy your evenings and go to bed with a sense of peace rather than exhaustion, so that you have the energy to enjoy your weekends instead of spending your whole weekend recovering. You are the only person who is always going to be there for you 24/7. So you get to make yourself a priority and learn to take care of you. Write that down. I am the only person who is always going to be here for me 24/7. I deserve to make myself a priority. In this class today, I'm going to walk you through 3 mindfulness strategies that you can try out. There's heaps of different mindfulness strategies. I'm going to give you 3 as a starter. And I treat life and personal wellness as a buffet. My attitude is to try a bunch of different things, figure it out, see what you like. So I'm going to teach you those 3 mindfulness strategies that you can start implementing right away. And then, of course, at the end, I'll make sure we have time to answer your questions. So go ahead and drop those in the chat as we go, and I will get to those for you. Before we get started, let me tell you a little bit more about me. My name is Emma Hull, and I founded my company, Life Untethered Coaching, because I genuinely believe that you deserve to have the unshakable confidence to live the life of your dreams. My background is in leadership, and over well more than a decade, I've coached and mentored countless people to do more and be more than they ever thought they could. And I did that by teaching them to be confident. Confidence is a skill and you can learn it. I've spent years figuring out the fastest, most effective ways to grow your confidence. And I'm sharing some of those tools with you today so that you, like my previous people, can do more and be more, so that you can have unshakable confidence to say no more to being overwhelmed and exhausted and say yes to achieving your dreams. So if you're ready to learn some easy mindfulness techniques so you can thrive, not survive, absolutely go ahead and take notes. I will give you some prompts throughout. But if you don't have notes, that's okay. You can always watch the replay and come back to it. Now, the first strategy that I'm going to teach you about is mindful eating. We all eat and drink many times a day, which makes mindful eating such a great place to start. My life coaching client, Kathy, loves mindful eating because it feels just so easy for her to add it onto something that she's already doing. Incorporating mindfulness in her daily life is helping her to navigate grief. And as a new widow, she's starting to find moments of joy in her days. Now, when you're creating new habits, it's really helpful if you can tack your new habit onto an existing habit. This is sometimes called habit stacking. And I actually talk about how to make habits stick in episode 14 of my podcast, Redo You. And my podcast is another great resource for you, a free resource where every Friday I drop a new 5-minute episode where I teach you a strategy that you can implement right away to help boost your confidence and improve your success in life. I'll drop the link to my podcast here in the chat if you want to check that out. And that's the link right to the meeting there. Let me send that. The link right to that episode 14. So, like I say, my podcast is a great resource. It's another free place where you can get tips and information from me. You can watch the videos on YouTube. My YouTube channel is at The Life Untethered, or watch the videos on Spotify, and then you can listen to the audio version wherever you get your podcast. Just Google Redo You podcast. Okay, so back to mindful eating. Mindful eating is the perfect habit stack for mindfulness to keep topping up your battery, because unless you're fasting that day, you're eating or drinking at regular periods throughout the day. So if you stack mindfulness onto eating, think how many times you're going to plug yourself in. I'm looking at my phone here, picturing plugging that in and seeing that little boop charging. If you do that and have regular mindful moments throughout the day that's going to keep that battery that we just spoke about, keep it topped up instead of it draining all day. You're going to regularly plug in. And I'm all about teaching small changes that are easy to implement. And that's exactly what I'm inviting you to do here. With mindful eating, my suggestion is to make the first bite or sip a mindful one. You don't have to make an entire meal mindful, but just that first sip. So before you put the food in your mouth, stop and look at it. Notice all the minute details of the color and the texture. Maybe there's some broccoli there and you can look at the little different shades of green. Consider the presentation. What does it look like? Maybe turn your attention to the plate or the mug. I have this real weakness for handmade pottery, so I'm always admiring my mug or my plate or my bowl. When you've taken that time to visually be present with whatever you're eating or drinking, then move on to smelling it. Take a deep breath and consider the smell. And ask yourself, is the smell pungent or is it subtle? Like if I think about this glass of water here, I mean, it's going to be pretty subtle, right? But it does smell. How many different aromas can you detect? Are the scents familiar or exotic? Can you name them? Now you get to take a sip or a bite and invite yourself to be fully immersed in that experience. Take in the textures, the temperature, the taste. Chew slowly, or if you're drinking, like hold it in your mouth for a moment. Don't just gulp it down. Put your cup or your utensils down between mouthfuls. Wait until that taste has faded away completely before you continue your meal. I hosted a women's refresh retreat earlier this year, and we actually had a mindful lunch where we made each and every mouthful a mindful one. And that was a very transformative experience. Maybe you might consider trying that for dessert to savor that chocolate torte you're enjoying. Or perhaps, you have a special occasion coming up where you could invite your loved ones to take part in a mindful meal with you. One of my life coaching clients, Hayden, added another layer to this practice by bringing in gratitude. And he contemplates where his food came from and how it got on his plate. So imagine now for a moment if you brought mindfulness, for example, to that first sip of coffee in the morning. How well would that set you up for the day? If instead of wolfing down your lunch at your desk, you were to pause and actually appreciate the nourishment that you were taking in, how would that affect your afternoon? These micro moments of mindfulness only take a minute, and yet they're going to have a lasting effect on your well-being. Think about it. How many times do you reckon you eat or drink during the day? Probably, like I thought about this, I'm going to say 10. I'm a snacker. How realistic would it be for you to incorporate mindful eating into this everyday activity? Maybe it's not going to be every time, but maybe you commit to doing it at your actual meals, or maybe you commit to doing it with your beverages. My retreat attendees all loved the idea of making their first coffee of the day a mindful one. So what are you going to commit to? What feels doable for you for mindful eating? Which meal or beverage or moment are you going to incorporate that mindful first bite? Write that down for yourself now. Write down when you are going to, or what you are going to commit to. So are you going to do it for every meal? Is it going to be the first mouthful? Is it going to be that first coffee? And then when are you going to start? And I highly recommend that you write down the answer tomorrow or now. And write that down too. Because why would you put off changing your life? You're here because you want to change your life. So don't delay. Do yourself a favor and do it now. Next, I invite you to commit to sticking with this habit for 7 days and to pay attention to any changes that you notice in your mood or energy. I have confidence in you. You can do it. The next mindfulness strategy I'm going to teach you is a body scan. And I love this one because you can do it anywhere at any time without anyone noticing. And you can make it as short or as long as you like. Getting out of your mind and into your body is super effective at reducing anxiety and stress. And that's because it interrupts those negative thought patterns that you might be caught up in and brings you into your physical body and out of your mind, out of those thought loops. Let's do this together now, okay? If it feels comfortable to do so, allow your eyes to close. Otherwise, take a soft, unfocused gaze. And I'm going to guide you through a rotation of consciousness. I'll be naming different body parts as we travel around your body. You don't need to move. Simply rest your attention on the area that I name, perhaps imagining a soft butterfly kiss on that part of your body. Now, beginning, bring your attention to your left foot, your left ankle, your calf, knee, thigh, hip. Your right foot, right ankle, your calf, knee, thigh, and hip. Bring your attention to your pelvis, your buttocks, the small of your back, your stomach, rib cage, your shoulder blades, your chest, your collarbone. Travel your attention to your left hand, your left wrist, forearm, elbow, bicep. Your right hand, right wrist, forearm, elbow, bicep. Now travel your attention to the back of your neck, around to your throat, your left jaw, your right jaw, your lips, your tongue, the tip of your nose, your left ear, your right ear, your left eye, and your right eye, your forehead, and the crown of your head. Gently blinking your eyes back open. Welcome back. How was that for you? How do you feel now from that body scan? How long do you think it took? The version that I just took you through takes around 90 seconds. You can make it longer by tracing your way perhaps through each of your digits, visiting each limb and your torso, your face, your head in more detail, or you can make it quicker by doing less. And the thing is, it doesn't matter if you're standing, if you're sitting, if you're lying down. So you really can use this mindfulness technique anywhere at any time. My clients who experience anxiety really find the body scan particularly helpful in bringing their stress responses down when they're triggered. And a body scan is a really great tool. It can be super helpful for going to sleep or for getting back to sleep if you wake up during the night. You can use the body scan reactively if you find yourself overwhelmed or short-tempered. In that case, notice that you've been triggered and walk yourself through a rotation of consciousness of your body. And here's the thing, it doesn't matter where you start or end, left, right, head, toes, or if you alternate sides or not. Just travel around your body in whatever order feels good to you. You can also use the body scan technique proactively to calm yourself before a situation that you anticipate might be upsetting or tiring. So maybe you have a presentation to do at a company meeting, or perhaps you're about to go to the dentist. Plan ahead and make time to walk yourself through a body scan before that event. And what the body scan does is it helps to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and that brings your central nervous system into rest mode. So you've heard of the fight or flight. This is getting you out of fight or flight and into rest so that you can experience calm and you're not so quickly triggered. You might choose to make it your practice to conduct a body scan every time you get into the car or while you're brushing your teeth, thinking about that habit stacking that you just learned about and how it's easier to keep up a new habit if you are adding it on to an existing habit that you're doing it anyway. So think for yourself now, when might you do a body scan? And how long would you like that body scan to be? Think about where in your life it would be most easeful for you to incorporate a body scan, and write that down and commit to that too. You're going to write down your commitment and you're going to commit to trying it for 7 days. And there's a reason that I'm asking you to commit to these different actions and to commit to them for 7 days. When we work together one-on-one in my life coaching program, you get access to a ton of different resources that help manage your mindset, to help you cope with the challenges that come up in your personal and your professional life. And the thing is, because life coaching is an intimate relationship where you've been able to share your hopes and your fears without judgment, I get to know the real you. So I will curate and offer you the tools that are going to be most effective for you in that moment for your specific situation. Tools that are going to help you to gently push your comfort zone and expand and grow so you can achieve your goals. And then each week we check in on your progress and evaluate what's working, what's not working, why it's working, and then find ways to incorporate more of that in your life. So that's why I'm inviting you to commit to trying each of these tools for 7 days. It's so that you can give it a chance to take effect and for you to be able to evaluate the impact. Just trying it once and giving up isn't really giving it a fair chance. So like I said, there is the buffet, but you have to try everything at least a couple of times. Now, the third strategy I'm going to teach you is to use your 5 senses. Again, this strategy is brilliant because it uses resources that you always have with you that cost you absolute nothing and is wildly effective at recharging your batteries so that you don't freak out over the little things. Wherever you are now, whether you're here live or watching the replay, whether you're inside or outside, take a moment and look around the space that you're in and just quietly to yourself, name 5 things that you can see. Just naming them in your head. I'm looking around, thinking what I can see. Next, notice 4 things that you can touch. What can you lay your hands on? Then, expanding outward, what are 3 things that you can hear? You might have to think about things that are close and things that are far away. Take the time to notice 3 things that you can hear. Next, I invite you to smell 2 things. What are 2 things that you can smell? That might be more of a challenge, but maybe if you have some food nearby, you can smell that. Or I've got this Palo Santo bracelet, so I could definitely smell that. And then finally, name 1 thing that you can taste. This 5 senses strategy requires your attention, firstly, to think about the sequence of the senses, which is a great distraction from whatever's going on in your head. And then because you're paying attention to things that are around you, you're being present and mindful and in the moment. My life coaching client, Maury, uses this framework actually as a journaling prompt. So when she's on vacation, she journals each day on those 5 senses, and it really helps her to experience her trip more viscerally. Another one of my life coaching clients likes to pick one sense to focus on during her daily walk. So each day she'll decide what sense to focus on her walk. And since doing that, she's really noticed that she notices more. Like the other day, she saw deer grazing beside the path that otherwise she might have just been walking along, thinking about her groceries and didn't notice. So these, again, using your senses is a beautiful way that you can just take a few moments to bring mindfulness to your day, to be present in the moment, to calm down your central nervous system, and to recharge your battery so that you have energy for the things and the people that you love. Think about your daily routine. Where does it feel most in alignment for you to incorporate this 5 senses exercise? Pick a time or an activity and jot that down so that you can remember to try it for a week again. So maybe it's going to be when you go for a walk in the morning, or perhaps in the evening. Maybe you're going to use it when you're petting your dog. What's a good time in an existing routine that you have that you can incorporate, taking that moment with your 5 senses? All right, so you have learned 3 different mindfulness strategies you can incorporate into your day with minimal effort, minimal adjustment, but they're going to bring you results. You learned about mindful eating and how you can make the first bite or sip of each meal mindful, and that's going to give your battery 5 or more mini boosts each day. You practice performing a body scan that you can use to calm yourself when triggered or ahead of time to reduce the impact of tough moments. And you explored your world through 5 senses, bringing you into the present moment. Your toolkit for self-care and mastery of your mindset is growing. You now have a selection of ways to help recharge your battery throughout the day. And you know it only takes a minute or 2, so it's easy to make it happen. You have the resources to help you make it to the end of the day and the end of the week with energy, so you no longer feel like you're just surviving. Instead, you're thriving and enjoying life. How do you feel now on a scale of 1 to 10? What feels different to you now that you have those tools? I'm hoping that you feel better. I've given you a glimpse of some of the tools that my coaching clients use. But of course, in reality, there's a lot more to it. And those nuances are what I teach in my one-on-one coaching program. And so if it's okay with you, I'd love to tell you just a little bit more about what that looks like. And then I'll get on to answering any questions that you have. Now, of course, you can totally go off and implement everything I've taught you today. You can implement all the things that you learn on my podcast. And if you'd like support in implementing your plan, you can stick around and I'll tell you about what working with me looks like. When we work together in my one-on-one coaching program, you get individualized support. And that's one of the things that my clients always comment on and they really love. It's a very intimate relationship. And at the beginning of our time together, I lead you through a process where you evaluate your life, you establish your goals, and then together we create a plan for you. And then we meet every week where we work on implementing your personal success plan step by step, taking those small incremental steps, teaching you how to celebrate your successes, how to overcome your challenges. And in my coaching program, you have access to my whole library of resources, and I get to coach you through how to use them in your life. Because you are going to stumble at times, you're going to have questions, and I can help you to figure out what went wrong, help you back up, and help you get back on track and moving forward. I teach you essentially how to think differently. I teach you how to see possibilities and how to have the confidence to go after your dreams and the motivation and tenacity to keep going. If you are ready today to start thriving and not surviving, I can help you with whatever your goals are. So if you're ready, let's get together for a 30-minute strategy session. And in that, we'll talk about what's going on for you, where you want to be, and I'll lay out my plan for how to get you there. And then if it feels like we're in alignment, we can get started right away. You can go to lifeuntethered.com/book to schedule your strategy session, and I'll drop that in the chat too. And then if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. And of course, if you're watching the replay, drop them in the comments and I'll come back and read that. And otherwise, thank you so much for taking the time to join me this evening. I'm celebrating you for choosing to invest in yourself, choosing to spend this time educating yourself on ways that you can improve your life. And I wish you the very best with trying those out for the week. Let me know how it goes, and please do reach out if I can be of any support to you whatsoever. Thank you. Have a beautiful evening.